The young buck had always thought the safest place to be was where the forest grew so thick that none could ever see. Beneath the pines he made his bed, beneath the stars he'd roam, and every snapping twig would send him hurrying farther home. He drank from streams before the dawn, he wandered after night, and if a distant voice was heard, he vanished out of sight. His antlers had begun to grow 2 branches, small but proud. His legs were long, his coat was dark, his ears were sharp and loud. He knew the trails the foxes took, the paths the coyotes knew, and which dark roads were walked by men beneath the evening blue. Then one cold evening near the woods, a gentle scent came through. The buck stopped still. His black nose rose. What was that smell? He knew, food. He crept toward a little house that stood beside the trees. A porch stretched wide beneath the roof, a shelter from the breeze. And underneath that wooden porch a little trough was filled with apples red, with golden corn, with carrots, grain, and more. Beside it lay a bed of straw, so clean and soft and dry, where winter winds could not reach in and snow could not blow by. The buck looked toward the little house. A curtain moved inside. He took a step, then one more back. He waited. Nothing stirred. He watched. He listened. Stillness stayed. No footsteps crossed the floor. At last his hunger won the fight that caution fought before. He chose a red and shining apple and carried it away. He ate it in the shadows, then returned another day. And every night the food was there. The straw was waiting too. And slowly, something changed inside the buck he knew. For those who lived inside the house were not the hunters feared. They never chased him from the porch. They never drew too near. They were not enemies of woods. They were something rare. They were the kind of human souls who simply learned to care. Each morning sat an old woman upon the porch with tea. She read her book and watched the birds and never called to him. The buck would watch her from the trees. She watched him watching too. And day by day, the distance between them slowly grew. Not smaller from a reaching hand, not broken by command, but softened by the quiet trust that neither had to demand. One morning he came closer. The old woman smiled. "Good morning, handsome," she said softly. The buck stayed a while. He did not run. And that was how it all began. At dawn he'd come. At dusk he'd stay. There might be apples, corn, or grain, a carrot left his way. And when the winter nights grew cold and frost lay on the ground, fresh straw appeared beneath the porch where warmth and peace were found. The buck discovered something there he'd never known before. He could lie down and close his eyes without fearing every sound. The roof would shelter him from snow. The straw would hold the cold away. And for a little while at least, he need not flee or stay afraid. He still belonged to forest paths. He still belonged to rain. He crossed the creek beneath the moon and wandered through the plain. He followed stars. He knew the wind. He listened to the trees. He was a creature born to roam, as wild as he could be. But now he knew another place. A porch beneath the eaves. A trough that sometimes held a feast. A shelter from the leaves. A window glowing warm and gold. A gentle voice inside. A place where no one asked him to surrender what he was. For friendship was not holding him. It was not a rope or chain. It was leaving food. It was offering rest. It was letting trust remain. It was sitting quietly nearby and giving him the choice to come when he was ready and to leave without a voice. And so the young buck came and went between the woods and home. He never ceased to be the wild, free creature meant to roam. But something in his heart had changed. The world was not all fear. Somewhere among the winter trees, there were kind souls waiting near. As winter deepened, strong he grew. His antlers spread and climbed. His coat grew thick against the snow, his body grew refined. One evening, underneath the porch, the old woman stepped outside. The buck was waiting quietly, only a few feet wide. They stood together in the cold. Neither moved. Neither spoke. Then slowly, with a lowered head, the young buck took a step. He came a little closer. The old woman smiled. "Welcome home," she whispered. The buck lifted his head, and looked toward the golden light that glowed behind the window. Then he turned. He settled down upon his bed of straw. Outside, the snow began to fall, soft as feathers in the night. Inside, his friends turned down the lamps and wished the world good night. And underneath the little porch, the young buck closed his eyes. For he had found a precious thing beneath the winter skies, a place where he could come and go, a place where he was free, a place with food and warmth and rest and friends who let him be. For sometimes home is not a cage. Sometimes it has no door. Sometimes home is simply somewhere you are welcome to return once more. And sometimes kindness asks for nothing, holds no claim, and sets no fee. It simply leaves a little light, a little warmth, and waits patiently.